You are listening to a Pod Bros exclusive.
Hey now, everybody. We are live, episode 76, Take Aim Outdoor Podcast. Super excited to have this guy on the show today, like I am pretty much with every guest, but super excited for today. Jace Bauserman, how are you doing?
Doing well, Brandon. Thanks for having me. Excited to talk about bow hunting and just to be on the podcast with you.
Absolutely, man. I'm super excited to have people on that, I'm not afraid to admit that I actually admire and like to see what they're doing. And Jace, you were definitely one of those guys that, I just admire and look up to and always like to follow you and see what you're doing.
Oh, I appreciate that very much. You know, my main goal when I got into this industry was just to try to do things right and try to motivate people and push people to be better in life and in the bow hunting woods.
Now, Jace, I know who you are and what you do, but give us a little rundown for, some of the listeners that may not be familiar with you, what you do and where you work and stuff like that.
Absolutely. I was a freelance outdoor writer for 9 years. I actually taught fifth grade creative writing before that I was also freelancing for anybody at that time. I freelanced for Field and Stream, Outdoor Life, Bow Hunter, pretty much any major national publication. And then right at 3 years ago, I was offered a position with Grandview Outdoors, which has several titles, but I became the editor of Bowhunting World magazine and Archery Business magazine. So currently those are my main focus, and we go to print with both those titles 9 times a year with some special digital issues in between, and have a thriving website that's doing quite well. It's grandviewoutdoors.com, and we always have interesting stuff going up there too. So it's been quite a journey, not coming from a hunting family at all, or being raised around hunting, and then just coming to love it the way that I do.
Absolutely. So, Jace, we'll kind of come back to the Grandview stuff and the magazines, but why don't we go and kind of run with that about you not coming from a hunting family? So would you mind explaining like where you lived and what kind of finally cut your teeth on hunting and who did that, a mentor or whatever?
Yeah, absolutely. I come from a very small town. The name of the town that I come from is La Junta, Colorado. It's a real small map dot town, I guess you'd say, in the southeastern part of the state. Both my parents are school teachers. My dad was a high school coach for just about every sport imaginable. And growing up, that's what we did. We just did sports, and it was great. And I had a great childhood growing up. Great parents, bringing me up right. And when I was about 10 years old, though, my babysitter, her oldest son was a senior in high school, and he was always bringing home ducks and pheasants and bringing home all kinds of different game. And I just started asking him questions, and then I just kind of fell in love with that idea. And my dad was a big motocross guy, so we had motocross bikes. And so I took my hunter safety, and then when I was 10 years old, not 10. When I was 12 years old, my dad said, hey, you're safe on your bike, you're safe with your gun, you can start going out. So I would just take my shotgun out, and I knew pretty much all the local farmers and ranchers. I went to school with their sons or daughters, and I just had my bike and my shotgun and gas stashed in farmers' culverts and along the way, and I just went out and started getting after it. And as I was doing that, I just got attention. People just started to notice people that hunted ducks and geese with decoys, and I was out there jumping them and running them out of fields, and just kind of took me under their wing and showed me the way to do things. And so that's kind of how I got rolling in the outdoors.
It's pretty interesting. Was there a point? Was it something at that age, Jace, where you're just like, this is the ultimate boy stuff to do? Or was there a time where you're like, besides, it just being fun and getting outdoors, was there a time it just kind of clicked in you, like, I got to start doing this more and learning more and more about it?
Yep, and I can tell you exactly what it was. So as I started to get out there and I started to experience the outdoors, and I actually started to knock down a few ducks and geese and pheasants and stuff, all small game with my shotgun. When my mom or dad would take me to Walmart, I was always drawn to magazines more than anything, mostly because of the photos in there. I'm not gonna lie. And one of the first magazines that I picked up was Bowhunter magazine, and one of my favorite writers in that particular magazine was the editor, and that was Dwight Shue. And I would read Dwight's features about his amazing hunts and amazing quests for game in these far-flung locations. And I started reading about these things and thinking, wow, gosh, that's what I want to do. I want to be able to go do some of these hunts and write about them. And then I started to become a fan of, as I Dwight was one of the first guys I saw in print, but then came along, Bob Robb. Bob became a huge fan of mine. Bob has a way with words and pulling you into his stories like few do. Also the late Bill Krenz. Some of these guys that really pioneered, in my eyes, at least pioneered for me, and paved a way for a young man that thought these adventures were so far beyond his grasp, could read about them. And that's what I did. I would read about them, and the stories that I really loved, the stories that I really thought were cool, I'd actually tear out of the magazine. I'd 3-hole punch them, and I'd catalog them. And so I had sections for Dwight and Bob and Bill and just several other outdoor writers as well. And that's when it really clicked for me that, somewhere along the way, if this is at all possible, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. I want to get into bow hunting because it just sounded awesome. I had never picked up a bow at that point, but it just sounded so awesome. And that was kind of the initial aha moment, I guess you'd say.
Absolutely. I really relate to that myself, because that's how I grew up and took to the sport as well. I mean, I got to get out and outdoors, but just like you, man, I would go to the magazine racks, pick out a magazine once a month and look at every picture and then read every article, and exactly the same emotions that you just spoke about, just dreaming of these lands and these hunts and how to get there and how to do it. So that's super awesome. So
it's a great thing to get involved in.
It is, absolutely. So, Jace, when did you kind of get to the point where, from the magazines or whatever, you're like, all right, this bow hunting is taking control of me, and I'm going to go on my first big hunt or try to kill my first animal with a bow?
I didn't really get to start bow hunting until I got into college, and that was simply from a financial standpoint. Every dollar I made at that point went to school, or it went to shotgun shells, new waders, duck decoys, and at that time I was going on some big game hunts, but they were all rifle oriented. And then one of my good friends introduced me to archery, and gave me actually passed along an old reflex bow that he had. And I started shooting that bow and started getting comfortable with it and getting comfortable with the dynamics of bow hunting, and worked really hard, went to some 3D shoots, and then that particular fall in Colorado, where I'm at, pretty good antelope herd, and it's an over-the-counter tag for archery. It's not for rifle, but for archery it is. And I thought, shoot, why not? I didn't know anything about it. I didn't have a ground blind. I didn't even know you could hunt antelope over water. So I just went out. I had a pair of Walmart camouflage and went out and started crawling around through the cactus. after school and on weekends chasing antelope. And it was probably 15 or 20 days into the season. I'd been going hard. I actually had to go see a doctor and have a large cactus spine removed from underneath my kneecap. But I was just infatuated with it. The more I went, the more I loved it, and the closer I got to these animals and just learning their habits and what they do and what makes them special. Day 15 or 20, I was, the Lord blessed me with a good shot, and I made it. And that moment right there, I'll never forget. I don't think there's anything quite like seeing an arrow, making a good shot, and knowing that animal expired quickly, and then just getting to make that walk, that whether it be a 1-minute walk or a 30-second walk, or just that elation of seeing that animal on the ground and getting to go over there and pick it up and know that all the hard work and everything you did is laying there right in front of you, and it's going to taste amazing. And I don't know, that was my first harvest with the bow.
Absolutely. I think that's such cool emotions, and that's things that we all share as bow hunters. Is we remember that first hunt where we're successful and all those steps to it. And if you ask me, Jace, you can contribute to this. That's the same thing you feel today, and it never goes
right
away. And it's just amazing and super cool to hear that from you.
It's a blessing to be involved in such a great sport that takes so much dedication and discipline to do it right.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a lot of hard work, but how unique and amazing that you got to grow up in a state like Colorado and kind of be just right in front and center of all that kind of bow hunting action and great seasons that state provides for you.
And that was a big part of it too. Is living where I live. At the time, the state hadn't gone to a total draw system for deer yet. That came shortly after. But yeah, I could right here where I was at. I had access to deer, turkey, elk. And these were all over the counter type things at the time. Turkeys, and so I felt like just right here, because at the time, out of state hunts and that sort of thing, they were just kind of out of the question. It was, draw the tag here. And hunt the animal that you had, and that was great because it gave me time to really learn the animals that I hunted and focus on just going after them, and not thinking about having to bounce to Kansas or get on a plane and go to Texas or wherever. My sole focus was just being able to hunt the animals that were close to home and learn as much as I can about them.
Yeah, absolutely. Why not? You had that luxury, which I think is awesome, and I'm sure you probably can admit it probably sped up the learning curve as well.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely it did. It sped up the learning curve in a lot of ways, and in a lot of ways I had a lot of help along the way, especially when it came to whitetails. But for a lot of the other stuff, the elk and mule deer and stuff, it was a huge learning curve because at first, when I first started bow hunting, you couldn't get me to climb up in a tree stand. Everything I wanted to do everything on the ground for turkeys, for everything. I didn't want to be in a ground blind. I wanted to do pretty much everything spot and stock or with a decoy. So doing those things, on your own and learning the ins and outs of how to become a very proficient spot and stock hunter, and I think that helped mold everything, even now. Because now, you can hardly keep me out of a tree stand. So.
Yeah, that is funny. So you got to, which is on my bucket list because I'm pretty much a whitetail fanatic. So did you get to, hunt the, eastern Colorado whitetails? Because that's on my list. So I want to hit on that for 1 second.
Absolutely. I to be honest, at first I didn't. At first, I could have every year, but my passion was and it still is a passion. I guess every animal I hunt now is the passion at the time. But mule deer were really my, next to antelope were really my first love. There's some great mule deer out here, and I was able to, to take several nice bucks in the first few years that I hunted. And at that point, it was like, man, I'm on the ground. Here in Colorado, you can hunt them during the rut with your bow. That's where the season goes. In the low country, that's not the high mountain season, but down here on the plains, we can hunt them in the rut. And, it was pretty hard to tear me away from that. But then once I got into the bow hunting industry and started doing some writing and got invited on Mossy Oak Camouflage invited me on a whitetail hunt to Illinois. And I was excited about it, but at the same time, I was really reluctant to go because I knew I'd be sitting in a tree stand, and I knew that I'd be missing out on some days of the mule deer at home. And as luck would have it, that morning that I got put in the whitetail woods there in Illinois, and I was on a big hardwood ridge, had a little creek running below me. It was scenic. It was like something you would see when you open a double page spread in a magazine. And as light cracked that morning, the rut was in full tilt. I saw a buck. I saw two bucks square off. I saw bucks chase a doe. I had a pretty heavy rainstorm come in, and shortly after that, I had a buck come and just demolish a scrape that was 18 yards in front of me, and I shot him and harvested him, and at that moment, something inside of me just kind of clicked, and it was like, wow, this is something else. This whole whitetail rut, this whole game is quite a bit different than chasing mule deer on the ground during the rut. Their tendencies are different in a lot of ways, and since that hunt, I've only hunted mule deer one other time in eastern Colorado. Since then, it's been whitetails.
Oh, that's a super amazing story. I like to hear that because probably, as you know, Jace, in the hunting industry or, just hardcore hunters, there's always this little Western guy versus the Midwest guy about whitetails. And,
sure.
They don't, they just don't give any credit. And because you're hunting private property or some of us, that don't have that, will hunt with an outfitter. And I just think the misconception is that, a whitetail is just put out on the silver platter for guys, But super excited to hear that you actually got to go and experience the right hunt, which I think is amazing because especially in Illinois, man, when it goes down the right way, there's nothing like it.
And I would agree. There's nothing like it. And I don't know. That was 6 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago. And I don't know that I've experienced another rut morning quite like that. But I've experienced some amazing things in the whitetail woods, and just the year-round dedication it takes when you do have a piece of property, whether it be public or private, to really take the time to invest yourself in the process of going after these animals, because it's a year-long passion that you go after. And I've still chased mule deer in other states, and I still love mule deer, but a lot of my Western friends tease me a lot about kind of cheating on my roots with having access to some of these mule deer and then constantly going after these whitetails. But it's just they're a unique animal that I have the ultimate respect for, and so I still haven't learned nearly enough, and I'm always after that quest for knowledge to learn more about them and become a more proficient whitetail hunter.
Yeah, absolutely. That's super cool. And so explain just for a second, Jace, tell me about eastern Colorado and the whitetails there.
It's a unique situation. The whitetails have the population on whitetails along eastern Colorado, and I'm talking from the northern part of the state to the southern part of the state, along the plains and even into the Front Range there. The population has grown, I would say, considerably since I started bow hunting. There's a lot of opportunity there, both public access and private access. There's also some good outfitters along that area as well. But the thing about it is where I think we still don't have, I don't think we still don't have the numbers that Kansas has and that Nebraska has. We don't have those types of numbers, and which our buck to doe ratio in a lot of areas isn't what it is in some of these other places. So during the rut and those types of things, guys can get very frustrated with, especially with rattling. I've had very little success rattling, mostly because I feel our buck to doe ratio is pretty out of whack. And when you don't have that competition for does, the rattling just doesn't seem to be as effective. But the state's doing a good job. They've opened up a whitetail only tags that you can pretty much draw every year, and in most cases there's a leftover or an additional doe tag that you can get. So it's one of those things where you can really put 2 whitetail tags in your pocket, a buck and a doe, and get out there and experience hunting all along the eastern part of Colorado, from really, like I said, from north to south.
Jace, what time of year, just curious for my own wants, but what time of year does that season open for archery whitetail?
Archery whitetail and archery mule deer both on the Plains area open October 1st, and it runs through till the end of December. Now, depending on the unit, there's 2 rifle breaks in there. Some of the units, there's only 1 rifle break in there, but there's 2 rifle breaks in there, and one of them is typically, these aren't exact, but typically from December 1st through around the 14th, and then the other one is from about October 23rd through about the 3rd or 4th of November. This year, the bow hunters could start back up on the 4th of November. So it's a very long season. And you get the early season, obviously. You get the rut, all but about, you don't get that Halloween first couple of days in November time period, because in Colorado, when the gun guys are in the woods, the bow hunters cannot be. But you get all but about 3 to 4 days in November, and you get the last half of the month in December as well. So it's a long season for sure.
Absolutely, that's a good season. That's good to hear the population's growing, and it's still a lot of us out there. Unlike, I would say, me and you, Jace, there's still a lot of people out there that just won't harvest the doe. So if you guys get a doe tag and you know the numbers are out of whack, do your part, like Jace said, to get those numbers up to even, because it only makes the hunting more enjoyable. And I wish more people would participate and be conscious of animals and land management on the piece of ground you're hunting.
Absolutely, and it's so crucial, especially in areas with high doe densities, to knock those does back. And I've told a lot of people that have hit me up on Facebook or asked me a question on email about just wanting to come try public land bow hunting in Colorado for whitetail, and I tell them, if you're nervous about it or you just want to dip your toe in the water, get a leftover doe tag. Just buy a leftover doe tag and then go out and try it. Go, look at some of these different public land spots and see if it appeals to you. See if it's something you want to say, oh yeah, next year I'm gonna go ahead and get a buck tag and a doe tag. But getting that secondary doe tag is a great way to help with the conservation, but it's also a great way to test the waters a little bit and to see if that type of hunting is for you or not.
Absolutely. That's great advice for sure. And before we totally get off topic, off the hardcore bow hunting stuff, Jace, I just want to ask what's left on your bow hunting bucket list that you really kind of want to do again or do for the first time and chalk it off the list?
Oh man, that's always such a difficult question.
It's a huge question.
Yeah. I pinned a list for sure many years ago, and I've been blessed and fortunate to take several animals on that. I killed a 10.5-foot alligator in Florida this year. My number one all-time animal on that list was a mountain lion, and I got to go with a good friend of mine, Jay Waring, here. It's been 4 or 5 years ago, and we were able to go and I was able to harvest just a gorgeous tom. But left on that list is caribou. That's always been super high on the list, and I just haven't made it to go do that. I would like to hunt brown bear with my bow, not over bait, but on the ground in a spot and stock style. And then I want to go to Africa to hunt what. It doesn't really matter. I don't really have a plains game or a dangerous game list. I just want to go. For me, it's more about going to a place and experiencing that destination. That's more what it's about for me than going to pursue one animal. I love to go hunt different states. I love to go hunt different places. And I think that all comes back to my roots from these magazine articles, because it wasn't Bob Robb holding a 170-inch Montana mule deer that got my attention. What got my attention was reading about the country and seeing pictures of the country and how Bob and Dwight and these guys would describe being in these places. And that's what I love more than anything. I love going to new places. But yeah, I mean, the long and the short of it, I guess, bucket list. Love to kill a big brown bear, spot and stock style, up close with my bow. Love to go to Africa, and of course, I got to get up to Alaska and chase some caribou.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of that is on my list as well, almost to a T. Next to Alaska, Jace, I really have just this absurd passion to want to go do caribou in Newfoundland. So if you're ever down for that, let me know, man, because it is way up there on my list. But
absolutely. And I know my late boss and one of my mentors, Bill Krenz, one of his, it wasn't necessarily his last hunt by any means, but Bill did a Newfoundland hunt, and he wrote an article about it. It was great. In talking with him about it, it was one of the places he was the most passionate about when he returned from that hunt.
Yeah, absolutely. I bet. So, Jace, I know that, almost to a T, you described magazines like how I feel about them and how I did it, when I was younger. Is that something you feel that has been put into your writing now, exactly those emotions and those thoughts when you were younger looking at those magazines?
Absolutely. I try. I try to do my best. I don't consider myself a Hemingway by any means or a great writer. I just feel blessed to be working in this industry and get to share my stories and my passion for the outdoors and gear. And then I try to get that to come across to the best that I can in my articles. And my ultimate goal is my favorite thing is when I get an email from a reader or from somebody that I talked to at a seminar, and they said, "Hey man, I tried this. I went to this place, which you said worked." I love interaction with people because, in my opinion, that's truly the future of our sport and the future of the growth of bow hunting and the outdoors. Is the more we involve people and the more we deal with people, whether it be through Instagram or Facebook or there's so many outlets now, or a good old-fashioned phone call. When people are helping people, I feel like only good things can come from that. Some of the places that I've been able to go hunt have just come about just because, I traded hunts with somebody I met at a seminar, and we got to know each other, and then we became friends. That's what I love about this industry. And yeah, I hope in my writing that I hope that one day, somebody says, man, I used to love to read Jace's articles about this, that, or the other, because I didn't just appear in the industry. It was definitely a long road and a lot of work to get into something that I always wanted to do.
Absolutely. I know that again, I can't say enough, Jace. Maybe because of the different times we didn't have the outlets of YouTube or websites and social media and Instagram, but that's what we had a connection with magazines, and I still read Bowhunting World and read a lot of your stuff, and believe it or not, I still feel the same way I did in the 90s when I would pick up a bow hunting magazine. So I just want to give you props and say kudos to you for doing such great work all the time and invoking those emotions that I had when I was younger.
Oh, I really appreciate that very much. That means a lot to me, and I'll keep plugging away.
Absolutely, Jace. I know that you're you are a family man, and due to the fact that you said you didn't have your father introduce you to the outdoors, are you super kind of stoked as a dad? I'm a dad to, just kind of have those feelings about, what you're going to do with your kids and that kind of excitement?
Oh, absolutely. It's something that I think about all the time. I have my beautiful wife, Amy, and then I have 3 kids. I have my youngest is Brody, and he's 4, and then my daughter, Abby, is 8, and then my son, Hunter, is 10. And so all 3 of them go with us, go with me. Both Hunter and Abby have been with me when I've killed turkeys with them there. They've been out hanging tree stands, doing food plots, just going for hikes in the woods. They're gonna be getting into doing some hunting on their own here, especially Hunter, very, very shortly. They all shoot bows. They've all gone out and shot guns, and it's just a part of our family, just a part of our family lifestyle and a part of our family dynamic. It's just it's a lifestyle that we love, and it's a lifestyle that we believe in, and that we want to promote. I really feel that a family that spends time together in the woods and spends time together, whether it's shooting a bow for 15 minutes in the backyard or going on a 5-mile hike to look for shed antlers, I really feel like that's just a bonding experience that's remembered and that means something.
It is. I couldn't have explained it any better myself, and it's truly that, and truly exciting, and it's neat to be a parent and be a mentor, and it's your passion, but there's so much excitement about passing along that passion to them, because you can tell they feel it and they see it, and it's very rewarding. I don't even know how to explain it.
Oh yeah, they love it, and they love the fact that all 3 of them have been in at least one magazine article, and that's a big deal for them. They love to see their name, and then they even more so love to see their picture. So that's a fun thing too.
Yeah, that is super cool. Well, Jace, I did have one more question, but I think it will open a whole nother can of worms if we start talking about bow hunting and fitness. And I know you're super busy, but I know you're big into fitness. And
absolutely.
So I just asked really quick, in your opinion, for people that just don't think it's that important, do you mind just saying really quick if you think it's made you a better hunter and a better predator, just being in shape?
Yeah, and I have no problem tackling that at all, and I understand, because I've gotten a lot of emails and things like that saying this just isn't for me. This just and all I'll say to that is, for me personally, I find that the absolute better shape I'm in, the more successful I am in the woods, not just on harvesting game, but enjoying my hunt. There's nothing worse than being on an elk hunt and being miserable, because it's the romanticism of a hard elk hunt is may have been overplayed a little bit, and that's probably in part our fault that when we write about it. Yes, it's gorgeous country, and yes, it's scenic, and hearing a bull bugle and come in, it's indescribable, but it is 80% misery, as sometimes a lot of hunting is. And I've just found that the better physical shape I keep myself in, the more I enjoy the hunt. And if you're enjoying the hunt, you make better decisions. You're smarter about what you do. You're not thinking about how tired you are. You're thinking about how you need to go out and get the job done. So being physically fit, I really don't think that there's anything better for me that has led to success in the field. And I've taken it a step further in terms of especially the running part, and that's just because I love running. There's nothing other than I love running. I love doing ultra marathons, and I love running races. Part of that just goes back to my competitive spirit when I was doing sports in school. It's just I love that part of it. I love being a competitive person, and I think that drive fuels my passion to be a better bow hunter. So I really don't think there's any just being physically fit is so absolutely important. But I think what people understand is, or the misconception, the route you take to get there is totally up to you. It's just totally up to you. I mean, whether you swim or bike or lift or hike, or it doesn't really matter, as long as you're doing something to get in better shape. The long-term goal is to get in better shape and feel better in the mountains and feel better on the plains and feel better in a tree stand. A lot of guys will say, well, I get some emails that'll say, I did a seminar last week, and a guy said, well, I'm a whitetail hunter. All I do is whitetail hunt, and I walk to my tree stand and I climb up it, and this is where I sit. So explain to me how being physically fit helps me do that, or it's going to make me better. And my answer to that is, what I found is, when my body's in good shape, my mind's in good shape, and I'm able to sit longer. I'm able to not be as cold, and I don't get tired. My mind doesn't drift off to the point where I'm in a stand after 3 hours on the 5th day of a long hunt, and I'm like, oh, just so groggy, I can't sit there. I feel alert and I feel ready because my body's used to being pressed. And so I think that's something to take into account too. And how fast, and if you need to make a tree stand move, how quickly can you get that stand down and get moved across the ridge and get up another tree and be ready to go again. It's a game of inches, and sometimes timing-wise, it's a game of seconds. So that's kind of my babble about that.
No, absolutely. It's very well put and very to the point, and simple. And I like the quote you said about, it doesn't matter how you get there, just get there. Just pick up a dumbbell or go for a half-mile walk to get started. It doesn't matter, and to me, it's that important, and I wish everybody thought it was as well. So I think the change is there, and overall, it's neat to be a part of an industry that's making people healthier. It's crazy to think that, but it is.
Absolutely, and that's something else that I think that people need to see. That another thing that makes this sport great. I said earlier about people helping people, and I mean, if you're getting healthier, and things like diet and exercise and stuff are coming into and becoming a huge part of bow hunting and hunting in general, I don't know that it gets any better than that. It's a huge motivating factor, and for those people that want to do it but just haven't yet, I mean, my biggest little slice of advice is don't try to do too much too fast. Yeah. You don't have to start tomorrow and run a marathon in a week, and start wherever you feel like you need to start, and set the goals that are realistic to you and that you want to conquer. Because at the end of the day, it's your goal and your quest. It doesn't matter what your buddy does or what his friend does, or all that matters is that you're satisfied with what you're doing physically for yourself and the goals that you meet and that you set for yourself. And if you're doing those things, I don't think you can go wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. Well put, and that's a great way to just kind of segue out of the show. Jace, let everybody know where we can find your work at, how to get a hold of the magazine, and social media stuff and those items.
Oh, absolutely. The best way to get onto the magazine is just to visit grandviewoutdoors.com. That's our main website, and it's just www.grandviewoutdoors.com. And you can click the bow hunting tab, and you can see a lot of my work, a lot of my field tests, a lot of our team's work on there. You can also subscribe to the magazine right there on that site. There's plenty of links there to where you can do that. And I always encourage people all the time. My address is my web address is or my email, is in every issue of the magazine. And, people are more than welcome. I encourage people to reach out to me. And the other great outlet, Brandon, you and I mean, Facebook and social media is a great way. So everybody, you're more than welcome to look me up on Facebook. It's just Jace Bauserman, and on Instagram, it's at Bowsey, Bausey Bowhunts. Bowsey Bowhunts is my Instagram, and I love talking with people. I love seeing pictures. I love hearing success stories, and it's just it's a fun time with all the outlets we have to connect with each other. We might as well be doing it.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And Jay, after we get off here, make sure you stay on the line. But I will put all that stuff in the show notes, Jay, so people can find you, okay? And
absolutely, man. That sounds great.
And, hey, everybody, I just want you to know, please make sure if you haven't already, get on iTunes, subscribe, Take Aim Outdoor Podcast, leave us a 5-star review, and you know that you can find the show live every Tuesday, outdoorpodcastchannel.com and podbros.com. And we'll see you guys down the trail. And, Jace, thanks again.
Hey, thank you, and thanks to everybody who's listening.